Good morning. Before we get started, I think there's a few thank yous and introductions that need to be made, and that's what I get to do. So first of all, I want to thank the Edmond History Museum, Amy Stevens and her staff for allowing us to use this space for this memorial service today. We also need to thank the Edmond Chapter 947 of the National Active and Retired Federal Employees and Dan O'Neill, former mayor, for putting this event together for us today. It has been an interesting journey for us to make this happen, and we've, I think, pulled together all the right people to make sure that we had the attendees that we wanted to make sure could make it. So thank you, Dan. Thank you, Naifeh. Thank you, Amy. You know, if there's anybody in the audience today who lost a family member, would you please stand so we can recognize you? Thank you. And then do we have any postal employees who are actually there when the shooting occurred? If we have any postal employees in the attendance. And then, do we have any law enforcement officers who actually responded to the event? If you're here today, would you please stand? Is Quad Glassman here? You're the postmaster at Covell, right? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
We have one postmaster here today. Eddie Glasgow, he didn't make it? No, sir. All right, Eddie is our postmaster at the downtown post office, and he was traveling from Washington, D.C. trying to get here. He has not made it. So I just wanted to recognize our current postal staff, so thank you. And you've brought quite a few members of your team with you, right? Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm going to try to make this very brief, so I'm just going to introduce all my fellow city council members in one shot. If you're a city council member currently, would you please stand? And I didn't see any, but I don't want to get in trouble later. Do we have any of our state legislators in attendance today? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Before we move on into the heart of our memorial service today, I am going to recognize one more person, and that's Congresswoman Stephanie Bice, who has come to make a presentation to the city, which I think is very respectful, and I think, to be quite honest, it's probably long overdue. I don't know why it wasn't done at the 5th, 10th, 15th, whenever. So, Congresswoman.
This is a flag that was flown over the United States Capitol.
Thank you.
And is a gift to the city of Edmond on behalf of all of the staff that are here today. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of this important ceremony today.
You bet.
So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, if you didn't hear that, this is a flag that actually flew over our nation's capital as a sign of respect and honor for those who perished on that day. So thank you, Congresswoman. Now I get to introduce the man who really needs no introduction because he is Edmond, and he's going to take us through the rest of this service today. So Kevin Ogle, would you come on up here?
Well, I already tell we're going to have to make an adjustment here. Oh, that's close enough. 6'8", in case you were wondering. Well, what an honor to be here today. I so appreciate the invitation from former mayor. The Ogle roots run deep here in Edmond, as many of you family does here. We came here in the early 60s, and all three Ogle brothers went K through 12 in Edmond. We all still live here. I married a young lady who was born over Bronco Theater, and her parents are here today, Myrna and Highland Burns. And in fact, my wife's great-great-grandparents are here in this museum. They were homesteaders here. And my father-in-law, Highland Burns, worked as a rural mail carrier for years at the post office and retired about a year before this tragedy happened. So, like many of you, we love Edmond. And it was a perfect small town to grow up in when it was small, when we were growing up. It still is. But even in the perfect small town, dark things can happen. And today we're not here to talk about the darkness, but to commemorate the way the community came together and the emergency services that day. Right now, I'd like to show a video, and I know the screen is over here, so some of you may want to, I don't know, maybe move over, or maybe we can adjust the screen so more people can see it. But just some of the images of that day and afterwards and how people responded to that. So let's take a look real quick.
I come in here, it was just kind of a normal day, I thought. I came over to my case. When we started hearing shots, or at least I didn't know what they were at first, till people started running back and forth. Well, I did kind of drop down behind those papers, and I didn't want to run out and miss. And anyway, I sat down there till things kind of died down. And then I decided, well, maybe I need to go. And so Barbara Keespert, one of the ladies that's just across the aisle from me, I told her, I said, let's go. And we took off and went down to the end of the cases and turned and run out the door where they bring the mail in.
I was on the phone to Rick that morning because it's my day off. And he asked me to come in and help him case, and then I heard the shots, and by the time I got in here, well, everything was over with. He was the first one killed, sitting at his desk on the phone.
When I turned to go down, I just glanced back, and he was coming around the corner, and he shot one of the gentlemen, Ken Morey. He shot him right there.
And you thought he was headed your way.
Well, I knew it was, and of course we had already gone. And then he come down, and then Billy Miller was underneath his case, just across the aisle from me. I didn't know that, and he shot him there. But one of the others was in the break room underneath the table. He went in there and shot him, and then went out in the middle and shot himself.
I never forget it because I passed by the cemetery, and I know he's buried there, and I think of this place all the time. So, yeah, it's quite in the heart set. It'll never leave our minds and over what Jerry and everybody else has gone through.
I think about it quite often, and then every time I come by here, you just see it, and you think about it, and you think about the names, and I didn't have any kinfolks killed here, but many of them was my friends, real close friends that you worked with, see them every day, and it's just a memory.
We had a real close-knit camaraderie with the ladies and the clerks and the road carriers. We were good friends.
Yeah.
We would like to ask all the residents of Edmond if they would put a yellow ribbon on their mailbox on the 13th to acknowledge the killing of here on that day. That's what the city put out after the shooting. Nobody requested it. Somebody within the city put out, and everybody put yellow ribbons. That's how Rick Munoz got the idea of making the statue with a man and a woman, where there are 7 women killed and 7 men. And he put that ribbon on there to represent the sorrow.
Thank you for that. Some of the memories of that day. In fact, I got to interview both of those gentlemen, and Herb I knew through a family connection, the Burns, and all great guys. What a day that was. And the media of the country descended on Edmond that day. And it is still, tragically, the worst workplace tragedy of that kind this nation has ever seen. And you see all the media here today, 40 years later. That's how important this is to remember this and to commemorate the bravery of those and the resilience. And I forgot to mention, my daughter Caitlin is with one of those stations. She's here today too. That's how both of our kids went K through 12 here in Edmond. Ogle's, it's like a bad habit. We keep showing up. So, but those memories, we appreciate that. And by the way, I don't know if you all remember this, but the Mayor Rearman, was out of town that day. So the Vice Mayor, Randel Shadid, had to step up and be the mayor that day. What a day for that to happen. And he is here today, and we'd like for him to come up and say a few words.
The postmaster was out of town too.
Thank you, Kevin. This 40 years ago, this day started out just like today, and it subsequently very quickly became the worst day of my life. This event's not about me, but it impacted all of us that were involved at the post office that morning. I don't know what the police and fire people that were there and had to deal with the aftermath felt. I hope they got help emotionally, because we all think we're John Waynes until we experience something like this. And I learned very quickly that day, I'm no John Wayne. It truly was and is the worst day of my life. Carl Rearman, mayor, city manager, and the city attorney were all in New York on a city bond deal. And I got the call just to let me know something was going on at the post office. Ironically, my mom and dad still lived in Altus, where I was raised, and my dad somehow found out about the same time I did that something was going on, and he knew I went to the post office every morning early going to work downtown, and he called and said, I hear something's going on at the post office, are you okay? I said, yeah, Dad, I haven't been there yet, but I'm headed there now. Got there, and it was, we haven't obviously experienced, any of us, anything like that day. Finally, the SWAT team went in. Sadly, all of the homicides had been committed by the time they went in. I do remember Bob Macy and Clint Deddick, who were there. Bob, you'll remember, was the district attorney. Clint Deddick was the police chief. And me, talking about what was going on, what do you do? When the SWAT team went in, I remember one of them saying, 2 of these guys may not come out of there. They did, thank God. And then, once the building was determined to be cleared, Bob and Clint and I went through the building. And it's the worst experience. Well, there are 2 experiences out of this day that are the worst things that I can ever recall and will never get out of my mind. I went through that building with them, and we saw every deceased, innocent person, and it angers you so badly that somebody could do this, and there is no release for that anger. But we viewed that scene. I think we all wanted to know in our own minds, and we knew we were going to be asked, what did you observe? And is the representation of what happened accurate? You know, that's always the question you get when one of these things happen now. I cannot ever unsee what I saw that day. It bothers me to this day. Amy Stevens asked me to do a recorded interview with her, sort of a historical perspective. And I don't know, but I spent about half of that interview crying. This was a month ago. That's how badly it affects people who were involved. And I anticipate that the fire chief, the police chief, Clint's gone now, and the police officers who were involved in that experience those same traumas. That was horrible. Equally, to me personally, if not more horrible, was it took a while to identify the victims, and we did not want to mistakenly give information or give a family information that wasn't accurate. But I can tell you, by the time we started notifying families, we all gathered at the old city hall. That was where the families gathered there, and Saundra will talk a little bit about her building downtown. Time we gathered there and were ready to make the notifications, the families knew their loved ones aren't coming home. And we had several of us with the Ministerial Alliance. We called them. We wanted a minister with us when we were giving the notifications. And I say we, I didn't have much to do with it. I was there. Bob and Clint and the ministers were the ones conveying the message. But I do remember, and this is the other thing that I cannot ever unhear, because when we called a family's name, it was the worst anguish I've ever experienced. It was horrible. And there was nothing you could do to console those individuals. And I pray for them often because I never got over it, and I didn't lose anybody. They lost loved ones. And it's just a horrific moment in our lives. So anytime you see one of these events, the sad thing about the event is we never learn from history. You know, it hadn't got better, it's gotten worse, unfortunately. But every time you see one of these, remember there are loved ones who hurt beyond anything you can describe, and there are first responders who have to go in and handle that situation and see things that no one should ever have to see. And they need prayers also, and they need help. One last comment, and I'm going to shut up. After this was, a few days passed, I didn't realize how bad it affected me. 3 or 4 days later, I'm driving to the courthouse to go file something, and between 63rd and 36, I just started crying. And I thought, man, what's wrong with me? This is not me. I'm a tough guy. I can handle anything. No. I learned right then, I'm not that tough. I didn't know why I was crying. I mean, I knew it was a deal, but I mean, this is out of the blue. I'm going to work, and I'm driving down Broadway Extension, and all of a sudden, I just about have to pull over because I am crying so hard. The other thing was I needed help. we all, anybody that was there and in that building or around that deal, we all needed some type of emotional help. Now, I didn't know where to get it, but to Bob Macy's credit, Bob had experienced some really bad deals as district attorney and seen some really bad things. Nothing like this, but some bad things. And Bob would drive by my home every other week or so, checking up on me, because he knew I was in trouble. And we'd sit out in the cul-de-sac in front of my house, and we'd just sit in his car, and we'd visit for an hour. Just talk, just be quiet. But it was a really horrific day. I still feel so sorry for the families that lost loved ones in a senseless act. But I do appreciate everybody being here today. I don't know if I mentioned, in 40 years, I think this is the first August 20th I've been in Edmond, because I just still get calls. I still, from media, Kevin said the media ascended. There were 200 media people ultimately, calls and here, calls from all over the world. It was an event that really hadn't occurred before, and unfortunately we were the first. So, but I love the families. I love the guys that responded, the people that did a task that you can never ever be prepared to do. So, thanks for being here to memorialize this, and thanks for being in Edmond. I love Edmond.
First-hand account of somebody who was there that day. And Randel, thank you for your words. And PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, is real. So if anybody, like Randel said, still needs to talk to somebody, do it, please. Saundra Naifeh, who Randel mentioned, is always ready to lend a hand to people who need help. And that day was no different. Her business was used as a refuge because it was across the street from the post office. It was a refuge for first responders. And Saundra is here, and we'd like for her to come up and say a few words. Former mayor, too, by the way.
I'm going to have to get a Kleenex now.
Yes, you know how that is. Thank you so much.
This would have made a good prom picture.
We've done this before, remember? Hi, everyone. I wore yellow to always show that there is love and hope in each situation. Now, I'm not going to cry, hopefully not too much. So in the 86, my family and I owned a business in Edmond called Nomi's Ark, and there was a restaurant, the Rendezvous Restaurant, and it had a big banquet room. When we realized that this had happened, we're directly across Heard. And there wasn't anything built there except our building. It was more open space. And to have the gathering of the police officers who were trying to be the best they could be, and the first responders to make things count and work for our city. Here we are, this town that almost knows everybody. We are still a size of a town that we know many of the people. We knew our own carriers. So we had a banquet room, which was not always open all the time, and we opened that up for everyone to be able to meet inside, to feel safe, to feel loved, and to not have the public be overwhelming, and even the press. So I have to tell you, the interesting things about it to me was the press really wanted to talk to the people that were the first responders at such, and if they were in that building, it was like off limits. And my husband, Steve, he was tiny in some ways, but he was mighty, and he would practically fight everybody. He was a redhead. That probably had something to do with it. But he would keep people out. And the restaurant staff said, no, this is a safe space. This is a place for people to be able to go back outside after they have been inside. And it was wonderful. The part that was really great is the amount of people that showed up with water, with food, with beer. I mean, people in our community knew we don't know what to do, but we want to do something. And so we would have all kinds of things there for people to be able to eat, to have some time together. I also was in the Downtown Merchants Association. Across the street from us was a framing gallery, Peck's. Ed and Belva Peck had a framing gallery. It was small, and they had a great employee, Edna, that knows how to make ribbons. So we really had such a little activity going on in the gift store of making yellow ribbons, so all of downtown could do something too and embrace how we might be able to inspire love and hope that we're all together and together. So think about a yellow ribbon. It binds us. It keeps us as a city careful and kind to each other, and knowing how much while we may not have known everybody personally, we feel like we shared a common experience, and that's, in my mind, how we go step by step as a city to know that this is who we are. We don't lose it. Well, I think we were probably 40, maybe 50,000 at that time, and we're 100,000 now. And here we are today to commemorate something that happened that was tragic, but that we still have each other together to go through. Every tragedy, your town will support you. Thank you very much, and thank you all the people that are here with your families. We do love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Saundra, very much. Before we go any further, there are some firefighters who were first responders that day too. If you are here, please stand so we can recognize you. What those first responders did and saw, something else. We have something special here. Iris Muno Jordan, daughter of artist Robert Muno, will talk about his statue, and will have a model of the yellow ribbon statue to display. Where is Iris? Come on up, Iris.
Good morning, all of you. It's an honor to be asked to speak about my father and about the Yellow Ribbon Memorial. He was very dedicated to his art field, and this was kind of a special project. It happened right here in Edmond, and he wanted to be very delicate with what type of statue or memorial he presented to the community, to the families, and to remember those who we lost that day. And so my brother, I don't think, was able to make it today, but our father, Richard Muno, is deceased. He passed in 2015. But he enjoyed the satisfaction and the development of the conceptual designs of art pieces. That was where he got his joy, and that's where his creativity came in, to have a project and think about, how do I portray that event? How do I portray that person? And so this was something that he really enjoyed doing. And so in designing the yellow ribbon, there was a lot of images that came to his mind. And of course, he was trying to focus on what was positive that happened in the community that day, whether it was the first responders that were responding, the families, the community that was coming together. And so he was trying to come up with some type of design that would represent the community and the families. And he just kept thinking of different things. And so finally he just got in his car and he took a drive through Edmond. And one of the first things that he saw were the yellow ribbons that were tied on mailboxes, tree trunks, lampposts, anything, anywhere they could tie a yellow ribbon, to let the postal community, the families, anybody who was involved in that day and responding or helping people, find where their loved ones were, to remember that the community was here for them. And we wanted to step up and help you in any way that we could. And so that's kind of where the yellow ribbon came from. And the small maquette is back there against the wall, along with Dad's portfolio that shows some pictures of him actually creating the life-size piece that is now at the Broadway post office. But he decided to include two people in the statue, a male and a female, dressed just kind of casually like everyday community people. And the yellow ribbon is kind of swirling around through their arms, tied around the base of the memorial, to remember what the community came and did that day for everyone. He also included 14 fountains. Dad liked water. Water is alive, it has sound, it's soothing. It just gives kind of a peace when you go to parks and you see water. It's enjoyable. And so also there are plaques along the statue that list the 14 people that we lost that day, 40 years ago today. And so he really enjoyed doing that piece, being not from Edmond, but he'd been here a long time. His kids were both born in Edmond. And so Edmond was just a small community when we moved here. We still feel it's kind of small, but it is definitely growing. And traffic is definitely growing. And the schools, oh my gosh, so many schools. But anyway, Dad wanted this particular memorial to be a place of remembrance, to reflect and come together, to be a witness of what the community's history happened that day and continues to change. And as we follow along through this day and continue to grow, I hope, 100 years, this statue is still standing to remind the community what happened on this day, because it is very special. And I thank all of the family members that are here today that lost somebody, the first responders that are here supporting everybody, and just the community, everybody that's here today. So thank you. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Iris. Your dad was a very creative soul, and that is a tremendous statue. It really is. Well, first responders, we've introduced you to some of them, and Randel went inside that day, and so did this next person we're going to introduce. He's a retired Edmond police officer who was at the scene, and I think many of you know him. Would Rockey Yardley please come up?
I appreciate you all having us here today for this solemn ceremony. Again, my name is Rockey Yardley. I just retired from the police department 7 years ago. My job at the police department for 39 years was crime scene investigation and bomb disposal. I was called that day that morning to the post office and spent all that day and the next day processing the scene and the shooter's home in Oklahoma City. What I want to do today is honor the first responders, my utmost respect for them. Chief Lloyd, thanks for coming out. Your guys were phenomenal that day. All the fire guys that are here. I want to thank the IMSA crew, AmCare crew that responded that day. James is here. I don't know if anybody else is here. AmCare worked phenomenal. The training that the fire department, that the ambulance people had that day were incredible. Some of the true heroes that day were, to me, the SWAT team. We have the majority of the SWAT team is still here today with us. We've lost one. Richard Jones, SWAT team commander that day. Cleo Ladd, Tim Foley, Rex DeMoss. These were four of the five that went in that day. Not knowing what they were going to encounter except tragedy. And they were the first ones to see what happened that day. When they went in, there was none of us on the outside that said all five are coming back. We knew we were going to lose a couple of them, but we also knew they were going to get the job done. We knew for a fact that that was going to be settled at that point. Remember, back then, it was not a point of you go in rapidly like everybody does now. Back then, because of, back then it was contain and negotiate. That's exactly what the standard was back then. Because of Edmond, because of Columbine, that has changed. Now it's rapid deployment. That's what police departments are trained for now. But back then, they did exactly what they were expected to do. But to see all five come out that day was an absolute miracle. If he had still been alive, I don't think we would have got all our friends back. To see Matt Griffin, one of our K-9 officers, with Arbin getting ready to go in, you got to remember that this post office, the tragedy hit us close at home. Two of the gentlemen in there, Frank Newsom is the father of one of our detectives, future detectives, and the grandfather, one of our current officers. Tony, one of our detectives, his future father-in-law was in there. Bill Nemo, is Bill here? Bill didn't make it. Bill was the most tragically injured in the incident. Was in critical condition. So this hit very close to home. After it was over with, we knew we felt bad. We knew we felt bad. So what we did, we needed to reach out. Back then, we didn't have peer support. So we got a hold of the single worst incident at that time. That was San Ysidro, California. The second most tragic incident was the University of Texas. San Ysidro was in '84. University of Texas was 66. At that time, we were number 3, worst shooting incidents in the United States. Now, tragically, we're number 16. In 40 years, we went from 3 to 16. So we called in San Ysidro to see if they could send some people to help. They sent 3 people, one a future chief that was involved in the McDonald's incident. And you got to remember, at Edmond at that time, we were under 40,000 people. Now we're over 100,000. So we brought those guys out. We had a one-day seminar, the number 1 and number 3 worst tragedy in the United States. Edmond still is the number 1 worst workplace violence incident in the United States. So we brought those in and we did our own peer support. And from that, we went on with that. We helped develop that. We went on and helped the guys at Columbine. So if you have no one to help, like Randel said, you help yourself. You get the help you need. So for the families, our hearts go out to you. We can only imagine what you're feeling, but I have a lot of empathy, but I have a lot of pride for this police department that stood up, did what it was necessary to do, and we completed the task. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Rockey, for what you did that day and your whole service to the Edmond Police Department. Rockey is someone all of us in the media know, and I know a lot of you do too. He's been around, as he said, he just retired, and spent a long, fruitful career with the Edmond Police Department. That is it for our program. I want to thank the former mayor. Yes, sir.
I would like to add something if I could.
Yeah, come on up.
Can I ask the post office to come forward, please? Quade, can you bring your people here? You know, you always expect the post office to deliver the mail, right? Well, I got some mail for them to deliver. Let's just pass these out of the rows. I'm sure you all know how to do that. I want to thank the post office. They were very, very helpful in this project. They hung out things at the post office we were planning on having this outdoors. How about that?
Change of plans.
It wasn't my idea, but Cindy Covell take credit for that, I think. But it, okay.
There's no stamp on it.
Well, but what, you hand out stuff and you don't know why they did it, okay? Sure. I've got to just keep one, okay? I only did 100 of them, so I'm sorry. But I want to tell you the very first 2 pages are pictures of the Edmond sign. It is the only document that you will find in the post office that makes reference to August 20th, 40 years ago. I want you to know how special that particular document. Of all the stuff that was published and printed, this is what they kept, and it came from the Edmond Sun. Now the reason this is blocked out over here doesn't have anything to do with anything nefarious. It happened to be a school teacher who was really started her first day at school or something like that. So they didn't think it was appropriate for that to be there. But anyway, and the second page is the Daily Oklahoman. And you know, these people were very, very fast. Within 2 to 3 days, they all had funerals and burials. And most of them did not have an obituary. They were worried about all the trauma associated with that. I'm sure the family remembers all of it. No time, only one person had a formal obituary in the Daily Oklahoma. And it was pretty regular that they do that here. Just something sort of tragic. We were trying to find obituaries. And what was written for them as an obituary, this is about as good as we found, right? Right, Derek? Okay. The second page, the third page, is the involvement of the preachers and ministers and everybody else in our community. I picked this one because it talked about all the meetings that they had and all the counseling that they were doing and planning, and how involved our community pastors were in this particular project. It was overwhelming, the cooperation that we had with the mental health people to do that, and I thought you ought to know that and ought to remember that. The next page I have is this was the first page for the Daily Oklahoma that day. And it's important. It tells what it was, and it lists the people dead and injured in that particular thing. And the backpack of it extends on the back edge of this. There were a lot of people involved in this that had nothing to do with anything in the town except they were citizens and they went to the post office. This sort of talks about a lady doing flowers and wrapping ribbons on her thing. A lady that came and didn't want her name in the paper after her name not in the paper. That she brought some flowers and put them on the yard in front of the post office. I thought that was good. Ms. Rockey, you want to stand up? This is her on the front page of the Daily Oklahoma. Her husband, Mike, was the victim. That's your son, Damien, there. He was 7 years old then. 47 now. Thank you for coming all the way from Kansas City.
Oh, no, I moved back.
Oh, really? Well, we're glad you're home. Thank you very much, Ms. Rockey. God bless. We got a lot of worldwide attention as a result of that, and I have an article on that. You know, we didn't have internet in these days. We didn't get internet until 95, just barely. And so everything was done through the newspapers telling people, and on television. But the newspapers Dallas sent just about every reporter they had up here. And they sat in Pete Reeser's office where they usually have those banks of phones where the realtors are calling everybody. So they were burning up the line there at Beasley Place to make them a little kind of report. Pete's buildings also were used for a lot of the counseling for the employees. They were told that they could go over there at any time they felt necessary to do that. Our community was involved in that. The last thing that we have here is a spread. Oh, you ever heard of a special edition newspaper? I was a newspaper reporter when John Kennedy was killed, and we had the shooting afterwards. Anyway, I did a special edition thing. I was put on the street corner and sold newspapers. They did this the second time in the history of our state. The second time over this incident on a Saturday morning. That's sort of special. It's sort of unique part of our history. And it just shows you how profound and how important this was to our community. The last thing is the spreadsheet that Derek and I have been working on. We try to give you a time and place for every person, where they're buried, how old they were, what their job was, and if there's an obituary, how to find it. We'll work on improving that and making that more helpful. We would also like for all the people, the firemen here, the SWAT team, to try to have a photo before you leave here and meet with some, and then we would also like to have the postal people, be sure you have a photo here that we can share in the families, most importantly the families and survivors. Is Joe Sturgill here? Where's Joe?
Right here.
All right, Joe. Joe, and I've got to know each other. He had lunch with my brother at the senior men's club, or seniors.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was telling Patrick all about his role at the post office. He was on duty that day and was fortunate to survive. You're doing pretty darn good. Are you the oldest of the carriers that day still here?
88.
Well, he's 88 years old. That's pretty darn good. Thank you, Joe, for coming and being involved in this. Some of you are burning to tell your story, and we don't have time to do that today. But if you call the Edmond Historical Society, you figure out what you want to say, and by God, we'll make it happen. Because the only way we're going to know the history 50 years from now is for you to tell the story.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, sir, Joe.
A lady on my mail route met me the day afterward.
Stand up. I like this story.
She met me.
Talking about the yellow ribbon.
Yeah, she met me at the mailbox and she gave me a hug and told me how glad she was I was alive. She gave me a $2 bill and she says, "You keep this with you and you'll have good luck for the rest of your life." It's still in my billfold 40 years ago, and I have lived and prospered and in pretty good health, so there must be something to that. I believe it.
Anyway, these are the kinds of stories we would like to hear and share. How you deal with an issue is sometimes more important than the issue itself. And thanks, Kevin, and all the people that participated today for your outstanding work.
I'd like to say one thing.
That's right. That's right. Thank you. You can do it. Let's give him a hand. What do you think?
My name is Rick Tompkins. The day after the shooting, that evening, we got a phone call. Can you show up to work the next day? And most everyone showed up to work the very next day. And we carried on.
Postmaster, that's a pretty good philosophy there. Rain or shine or whatever, mail must be delivered, right? Thanks, Rick. Everybody remembers that. Okay.
All right, I want to thank the former mayor for the invite, and Mayor Nash and council members and everybody. And it's been requested that before we go, and I'm going to have to wear my peepers for this, so the print's a little small, that I read the names of those we lost that day. In memory of them, Rick Esser, Bill Miller, Patty Welch, Jerry Pyle, Patricia Gabbard, Lee Phillips, Betty Jared, Ken Morey, Patty Chambers, Mike Rockney, Jonah Graggart, Patty Husband, Tom Shader, and Judy Denny. This has been about them and those who were there that day. Thank you so much for being here.